Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and in today's video we're going to have the latest on the very warm and dry weather that we are seeing right now, and that is going to last for much of this working week. We've seen temperatures get once again into the mid-20s today, and over the next few days it will get even higher. We could even hit 30 degrees come Wednesday or maybe even Thursday. Now technically this is unlikely to actually be classed as a heatwave, even though it does feel like one in many areas, because we aren't going to be hitting those heatwave thresholds for 3 consecutive days. It's looking quite unlikely that most areas reach that. There's the risk of a couple of odd places here or there reaching those thresholds, which for London is around 28 degrees, and then it is slowly descends down to about 25 degrees for areas further northwards and further westwards. So it's unlikely that we breach that for 3 consecutive days. So technically not a heatwave, but another good few days of very warm and dry conditions. We'll have a look at the latest UKV, looking in detail at those warm and dry conditions, but also looking at the latter part of the week where we could see a weather front moving through, bringing cooler air. Initially, it doesn't look too energetic, but it will bring those temperatures down for many as we head into Friday and next weekend. And then we'll have a look at the longer range runs, and unfortunately, if you do want this warmer and dry weather to continue into July, those chances have diminished quite significantly today. We've seen quite a big shift away from more unsettled and warmer weather to maybe something slightly cooler and unsettled for early June, with the upper air temperatures dipping below average today from many of the ensemble members. Now, it could just be a blip, it could just be a day where the runs are going against us, but there is a real possibility that it could go pretty chilly while also being unsettled. Now, it is summer, so it's unlikely to actually be cold, but it may mean max temperatures are only around the high teens or 20 degrees instead of sort of the low to mid-20s like we should be expecting for the peak time of the summer. So, do remember, if you enjoy my videos, please do like and subscribe. And remember to follow me on Twitter as well, links in the description. Now, if you start on the live radar, you can see it is bone dry this evening. We're on this around 10 p.m. and it is another very warm evening. Pretty stuffy. It's getting to those sort of conditions where you need to leave windows open, and many people, if they're lucky enough, will probably be turning aircon on to sleep tonight. You can see the warmest conditions across central areas, of course, being inland, away from any sea breezes. It's allowing those temperatures to heat up, as this is a homegrown warmth. We're not seeing a big waft of southerly winds. What we're seeing is generally warm upper air temperatures, but it's really the strong sun, homegrown, and it's what we can get as we head through June and July because of the very strong sunshine and very long days. So it means this homegrown heat is, of course, going to be strongest towards central areas, set away from sea breezes and away from the cooler coast. And that's why parts of the Midlands here are the warmest at the moment, with temperatures still around 20 degrees or so, and unlikely to drop below maybe the mid to high teens. So it will be uncomfortable for sleeping in places, but hopefully shouldn't be too bad, especially if you're towards coastal areas and further northwards. Now, if you do look at the max temperatures, you can see throughout today we saw peak temperatures around the 3 to 6 p.m. point. So actually pretty late in the day, and that's because this warmth is really only properly arriving. So it's going to be a little bit skewed later in the day for today, maybe even tomorrow. But as we head through sort of Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, it's going to be a lot better in terms of those peak temperatures. Will be around the 2 or 3 p.m. point. You can see widely 24 to 25 degrees, capped a little bit because the upper air temperatures aren't quite as warm as they will be later this week. And again, it takes a few days for the heat to build. But as I said, Wednesday time, definitely looking like 28 to maybe as high as 30 degrees is on the cards. Highly unlikely anything warmer than that, but regardless, 30 degrees I think is plenty warm enough for most people. You can see, if you look at the latest top 20, this around 10 p.m, still around 20 degrees, maybe even 22 degrees for some of those areas across the Midlands, East Midlands there, Birmingham Airport, very warm still. And as I said, it's all because that homegrown heat is centralised, and it should dissipate away tonight with clearer skies, but it could hold on to those high teens in some areas. Now, if you look at the latest UKV, we'll run through the precipitation pretty quickly, because there's not much going on, if we're being completely honest. As we head through Monday, there could be the odd speck of rain into the far northwest of Scotland as a weather front tries to push in, but really makes little success. Just a little bit of dribs and drabs of rain. A few thunderstorms maybe through Tuesday afternoon for some northern areas in Scotland, but nothing too major. When that rain clears for Wednesday Wednesday, another very bone dry day, very sunny for many areas. Again, the odd shower further northwards and westwards. Thursday, though, we start to see a weather front sweep through. Could still be very warm in the east and the south, could still reach the high 20s here, but further northwards, that cooler air mass is pushing in, and by Friday, we'll roll in something slightly fresher. Of course, the further southwards you are, the most heat will still hang on to, but further northwards, back into the mid to high teens again, as we see much fresher air moving in. And you can see that here from the 850 HPA temperatures. At the moment, the warmth is really starting to arrive. Low teens. Said it is mostly homegrown heat. These sort of upper air temperatures aren't abnormal this time of year, aren't ridiculous. They average around 5 to 7 degrees. So only around 5 degrees above average. But it's because of the strong sun and the persistence of this sunshine and dryness that is allowing these temperatures to rise at the surface. You can see the upper air temperatures stay pretty warm all the way through Tuesday and into Wednesday. Very little movement, but it's into Thursday evening. You can see that cooler air sweeps through for all, and for all by Friday we're into fresher air. The south still hanging on to something warm, just not quite as warm as it had been the prior days. Further northwards, though, below average, even maybe getting towards the -1 degree mark at 850 HPA goes, so going a little bit chilly again, but it won't, of course, won't be too cold as it is end of June. If you look at the max temperatures earlier today, widely into the mid-20s, and into tomorrow, again, could get into the mid-20s or even higher 20s. Looks like we could improve by a degree or two on today. 26 or 27 degrees look very, very plausible. As we head through Monday evening, temperatures not dropping away much below around the 15 to 20 degree mark for many areas. Because of all of that warmth around, and by Tuesday afternoon we could just nudge 27 to 29, so actually could rise slightly earlier than I said earlier in the video. I said Wednesday time. Tuesday time could be 28 or 29, widely mid-20s though, and overnight temperatures again struggling to get much below around those mid-high teens. So again, pretty stuffy night. Not the ridiculous sort of stuffiness we've seen in the past, where it's not getting below 20 degrees, but regardless, still pretty stuffy. And you see by Wednesday, widely even higher, 28 to 30 degrees, pretty widely across England into Wales. So I do think 30 degrees looks pretty likely on Wednesday, unless we see any catastrophic changes in the air masses or thunderstorms bubble up or something that could restrict it. But at the moment, it's looking pretty likely we reach 28 to 30 degrees for Tuesday and Wednesday. So actually 2 days there hitting the heatwave thresholds and exceeding them. But as you can see, by Thursday, we start to struggle. The Far East could still reach 30 degrees potentially, but for most, we're back into the mid-20s or even high teens. And again, that starts to break the streak for many areas. So a few areas could see a technical heat wave, especially for the far east of England, maybe for London, but for most, only actually 1 or 2 days of above heat wave threshold conditions. And by Friday, still warm in the far south, 25 or 26, but further northwards, much fresher as that cooler air is pushing in. Even those areas further south, so it will feel a little bit fresher out there with that change in air mass, but you can still see some warmth is trapped at the surface. So you can see looking pretty decent over the next 4 or 5 days. Very warm, very dry and proper summer-like conditions, but unfortunately, it looks like it's going to be ending as we head into the following weekend. Now, if you look at the latest GFS, you can see high pressures building in at the moment. This is giving us our warm and dry weather over this week. And then we see this low moving in by the end of the week. And that unfortunately brings that fresher air in. Now, initially, it doesn't fully push in. But as we enter the weekend and start of next week, we do see low pressure fully push in. And it kind of dominates and sits over the top of us, giving us pretty unsettled and cool conditions. Not ideal at all. And yeah, doesn't look particularly great. You can see the upper temperatures aren't cold, but they're not particularly warm. You can see the very warm conditions are well to our south, and you can see there'll be likely lots of precipitation spiraling around, and the accumulated precipitation shows you the jet stream coming straight our way with low pressure sat over the top of us. So unfortunately, although it is looking bone dry the next sort of 5 days or so, as we head into next week, then the rainfall will rise. You go from very little here by Friday to Monday and Tuesday, the first few days of July, seeing tens of millimetres starting to accumulate. Some of it will be heavy, some of it will be thundery, and yeah, it could be pretty pretty energetic for the first few days of July. So unfortunately, a bit of a change to what we had a few days ago. It's slowly trending towards something more unsettled, and today it's actually started to trend, as I said, something a little bit cooler and unsettled. Now, after you finish by looking at the latest GM and ECMWF, we'll run through these pretty quickly as they are pretty similar to the GFS. Again, high pressure building in, but then we see that low sweep in. And actually, towards day 10, although yes, the air mass is coming in from the northwest, so it is likely to be fresher, especially further northwards, we do have a bit more high pressure influence, which does mean that we could hold the precipitation off for further southwards. So that is a positive. Doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be going unsettled for all there as we head into early July. So that's just giving us a little of a caveat there for the overall trend. I must say, as we'll look at the ensembles in a minute, they are very much on board for something cooler and unsettled. So you can't say for certain exactly what we'll see, but here you can see that there is hope things could stay a bit drier. Now, if you have a look at the ECMWF, as I said, high pressure building in, low pressure pushing in off the Atlantic through the weekend and starts of next week. High pressure coming and going, and all the way to day 10, broadly similar to the GM, maybe the high pressure a bit further southwards, but if we do look at those upper air temperatures, you can see warmer conditions still holding on in the south, whereas further northwards it is fresher. So a bit of a split there. We'll have to wait and see exactly how it does play out. But definitely GFS, the worst run today, the other two going slightly more unsettled, slightly cooler, but nothing too crazy at this stage. But if we do look at the ensembles, you can see it's pretty distinctly here. Very warm over the next 4 or 5 days. Big drop off to below average, and precipitation really picking up, and the precipitation will be higher further northwards. You can see as we head into the early part of July, that continues. We do trend back towards average, and we do see precipitation going up and down. So I don't think it will be terrible, but I do think there could be a few days here of washout conditions in places and slightly cooler feel. And if we finally compare to the ECMWF, broadly very similar. Again, you can see that we've got that warm conditions over the next 5 days or so, drop off as we head into the latter part of June and early July. Not as much precipitation here actually from the ECMWF, so more of a dry conditions further southwards, so actually a bit of a drier change in air mass. And then you can see as we head into the early part of July, we do start to see conditions returning back towards average, but again, nothing too special. Precipitation staying actually fairly low. So ECMWF looks like it is going to bring that cooler air in for a time, but it isn't going anywhere near unsettled. So it looks like the GFS has the jet stream further southwards, whereas the ECMWF has the jet stream further northwards. Yeah, and yes, it doesn't make a massive difference when you look at the pressure charts, but you can see here that it does make a big difference in terms of precipitation and those temperatures. We'll have to wait and see. Hopefully the GFS is the run that is wrong. Again, this time of year the jet stream is normally to our north, so the GFS is the more abnormal run compared to what we should expect to see this time of year, but we will have to wait and see. The only guarantee we've got is the next 4 or 5 days are looking pretty stunning, so do make sure you go out and enjoy it safely. Wear loads of sun cream, and make sure you do stay hydrated as well. So anyway, thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you again for another video soon.